So, your marketing funnel breaks. What's the first thing you check? The usual suspects, right? A broken link, maybe a slow landing page, or some weak ad copy. But what if I told you the real culprit is almost always hiding in plain sight? What if the crime scene isn't in your code, but in your customer's mind? Today, we are conducting a full forensic audit to uncover that unseen culprit.
And check this out. This is our first piece of hard evidence. A meta-analysis of 100 failed funnels found something pretty shocking. A full 92% of them didn't fail because of some technical glitch. Nope, they failed because they were built on a completely flawed understanding of human psychology. This isn't a coding problem, you see. It's a cognitive one.
So, allow me to introduce you to our prime suspect, psychological friction. This is that invisible force that just sabotages sales. It creates this disconnect, this chasm between what you're offering and how a person's brain actually makes a decision. And if you get this wrong, it doesn't matter how great your product is, it's just not going to convert. All right, time to put on our gloves and step into the psychological crime scene. We're about to examine all the evidence from that deep analysis of those 100 failed funnels, and we're going to pinpoint the exact moments where it all went wrong. And as you can see from the evidence here, this is not a niche problem. It's everywhere. From SaaS companies, that's software as a service, all the way to physical e-commerce, psychological friction is the common thread running through all these failures. Things like feature dumping, premature hard sells, and low trust, they're all just different symptoms of the same underlying disease, a total disregard for the customer's cognitive and emotional state. Okay, let's open up our first case file. This is the big one. It's by far the most common offender, the one that shows up at nearly every single crime scene. Cognitive overload. The science behind this is something called Hick's Law. It basically says that the more choices you have, the longer it takes to make a decision. You've definitely felt this yourself, right? You open a massive restaurant menu and your brain just freezes. That is Hick's Law, right there, paralyzing your brain. And here's what happens. It's so important to get this. When a customer's brain gets flooded with too many features, or a dozen pricing tiers, or just confusing options, it doesn't try harder. It shuts down. It takes the path of least resistance, the safest biological move, which is to do absolutely nothing, and click away. They're gone. All right, on to our next piece of evidence. And man, this is a classic blunder, something we see all the time, the premature ask. This is what happens when marketers just completely ignore the basic rules of building trust and a relationship. Get this. Our investigation found that a full 64% of these failed funnels went straight for a huge commitment without ever offering a small, easy, quick win first. It's literally the marketing equivalent of proposing marriage on a first date. It's just too much, too soon. And here's why that is a fatal mistake. You see, without that initial little dopamine hit, that small victory from a tiny yes, the customer's brain starts to label everything you send them as noise. It's not a valuable signal anymore. You've essentially poisoned the well before you've even had a chance to build anything real. Okay, our final case file. This one goes deep, right into a fundamental part of our psychology, our identity. We are biologically hardwired to move toward things that reflect who we are, our sense of self. And marketers who ignore this, well, they do so at their own peril. And look at this number, a staggering 80%. 80 of the funnels we analyzed made this exact error. They relied on what we call generic authority, just talking about their own accomplishments instead of actually connecting with the customer's identity. This table just lays it out perfectly. It shows you the critical difference between that generic authority and what we call the mirror effect. One way makes the customer feel like an outsider looking in. The other way makes them feel seen, understood, like they're part of an in-group. You're holding up a mirror to them, and that breaks down all their defenses. So we've examined the evidence. We've looked at 3 major psychological failures. The investigation is pretty clear. But it's not enough to just know what went wrong. We need a new framework. We need a way to get it right. And this is where we have to flip the script on conventional wisdom. The typical response when a funnel is failing is just add more stuff, right? More bonuses, more features, more hype. But as we've just seen, that often backfires. It just increases the cognitive overload and makes the whole problem worse. The real secret to success, the real solution, lies in a strategic shift. Instead of trying to build a bigger, louder engine, the best marketers focus on clearing the road ahead. They become obsessed with removing friction, not adding features.
And this brings us to our final verdict, which, believe it or not, can be summarized in this one beautiful, simple formula. Sales velocity equals value divided by friction.
Let's just break this down really quick. S is sales velocity, how fast you make sales. V is the perceived value, the good stuff, the dopamine, the utility. And F, well, F is the cognitive friction, the complexity, the risk, the enemy. And while you can always try to increase V, the most powerful lever you have is to relentlessly focus on decreasing F.
So I want to leave you with this one question, a complete shift in perspective. Stop asking, what more can I add? And start obsessing over what friction can I remove. Apply this forensic lens to your own work. Ruthlessly eliminate every single source of psychological friction. And I think the results are going to surprise you.